Hello and welcome. We start with West Africa, a coup center of the continent that has been reeling under violence, insurgency, and faces serious security concerns. To address these issues, on Sunday, the regional leaders met in Nigeria for the ECOWAS summit. That's the regional bloc economic community of West African states. But leaders of 3 countries were missing from the annual meet: the junta chiefs of Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso. On the eve of the summit, these 3 nations announced their own alliance, calling it a Confederation of Sahel States. With this, the military chiefs gave a clear signal that they have no intention to be a part of ECOWAS. In January this year, the military chiefs announced they were quitting the bloc, but there was no official meeting. On Saturday, these leaders held their first summit in Niger's capital, Niamey, coinciding with the ECOWAS Leaders Summit.
The formal approval of the treaty creating the Confederation Alliance of Sahel States will mark the culmination of our people's aspirations to seal a union of states sharing the same challenges and ambitions on the bedrock of a Sahelian space.
Now, Niger's military chief went on to say that the people of the country have irrevocably turned their backs on ECOWAS. The 3 nations now also seek greater cooperation across a wide range of sectors. ECOWAS has responded by saying that the move risks disintegration and worsening insecurity in West Africa. It says it will push junta leaders to reconsider their decision. Otherwise, it would impose further hardships on their citizens.
We have convened this ordinary session to once again review the situation in our region. We are aware of the enormous challenges, including terrorist activities and violent extremism, threatening to spread from Sahel region towards the coastal states, especially those that witnessed constitutional changes of government. The decision of the 3 Sahel countries of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger to withdraw from ECOWAS has also been noticed.
Now, ECOWAS is a 15-nation bloc in West Africa. It's headquartered in Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria. It was formed in 1975 to promote region's economic interest. In the next few years, the bloc shifted focus to political stability in the continent, which it believed was a prerequisite for economic stability and growth. So it also took responsibility to ensure democracy and to fight security challenges. Though it gained success, ECOWAS's performance has weakened in recent years. The bloc has not been able to mitigate coups in the region. Consecutive coups in Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso raised doubts over the bloc's goals. It has not been able to counter the surge of terrorism and insurgency in the region. It is also losing public support, with many West Africans seeing it as failing to represent their interests. The group has a history of military intervention in turmoil-hit areas, but sometimes it had been accused of mismatched timing. Now, while announcing their withdrawal from the bloc, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso cited a few reasons. They accused ECOWAS of illegal, illegitimate, inhumane, and irresponsible sanctions imposed on them after the coups. They highlighted ECOWAS' failure to assist them in their existential fight against terrorism and insecurity. The juntas have also argued that ECOWAS has deviated from the founding principles of the organization and is now controlled by foreign powers. This statement comes as all 3 military governments have expelled troops of ex-colonial power France from their nations. They have turned instead towards what they call their sincere partners, Russia, Turkey, and Iran. Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso have signed a security pact with Moscow, and Russian instructors have been training the armies for their fight against terrorism. The U.S. is also in the process of removing all of its forces in the region. America withdrew its forces and equipment from a small military base in Niamey. Now, fewer than 500 remaining troops will leave a critical drone base in Niger in August, ahead of a September 15th deadline. For now, ECOWAS does not seem to have a clear strategy in response to the action by 3 West African junta chiefs. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu, who has been re-elected as the Bloc's chair, has reportedly called on Senegal's new leader to serve as a special envoy with Mali, Burkina Faso and Niger without providing any details. ECOWAS leaders say the move threatens the loss of millions of dollars of funding for the bloc. As well as hampering freedom of movement, it would also disrupt the work of the long-proposed regional force to tackle terrorism in the region. However, it looks certain that the 3 military leaders will not join hands with ECOWAS members for dealing with their crises. Now, for more on this, we are being joined by Freedom Onuwaha. He is a professor at the Department of Political Science at the University of Nigeria, Nsukka. He is joining us live from Nigeria. Thank you for being with us, Professor.
Thank you for having me.
Let's jump right in. The leaders of Burkina Faso, Mali and Niger have started their own alliance. How does this new Confederation of Sahel States affect the regional stability? Will this cause disintegration in the region?
Yes, I think to a very large extent, we can really argue that ECOWAS, since its formation in 1975, has never found itself at a juncture or a crossroad like this, because essentially things are moving very fast, meteoric speed in terms of the way and manner in which the 3 countries, that is Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, the military leaders are moving fast to exit from ECOWAS. And that in itself has a lot of implications from the point of view of international law. A certain immediate termination of their membership of ECOWAS contravenes Article 91 of the ECOWAS revised treaty, which calls on member states wishing to exit the group to give it at least 1 year notice. And I'm sure that these 3 countries, I'm talking about Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, was only in January this year that they informed ECOWAS that they're exiting. And I do not think ECOWAS took that threat serious until the summit, the joint summit they had on the 6th of this month, wherein they have made it clear and irrevocably that they're exiting the ECOWAS. And that has a lot of implications from the point of view of international law. First, I don't think ECOWAS will try to take any aggressive approach to getting them back. Second, again, I think it raises a lot of questions as it has to do with the issue of integration, economic integration, trading, since there are some treaties that this country have signed up to that are still subsisting and their citizens are enjoying. For example, the ECOWAS Treaty on free movement of persons. And so if they have irrevocably left ECOWAS, that raises a lot of questions as to how ECOWAS is going to implement this treaty on free movement of persons. But I think a much more fundamental challenge is the question about how will ECOWAS cooperate with these countries. Particularly, I'm concerned about how ECOWAS is going to develop an approach that is going to relate with Niger. Niger is quite important, as you know, and Niger is one of the 5 troop contributing countries to the multinational joint task force that is dealing with the problem of the Boko Haram in the Chad region. And the implication, therefore, is that if Niger would then pull out from the ECOWAS, go ahead, please.
Right, Professor. What is the reaction by ECOWAS members to these junta-ruled nations effectively and irrevocably turning their backs on ECOWAS?
ECOWAS have actually adopted an approach that is conciliatory and forward-looking in the event of the recent announcement that they're irrevocably leaving ECOWAS, and which is quite commendable compared to the prior confrontational aggressive approach that ECOWAS took. And for the fact that ECOWAS have already mandated the president of Senegal to continue negotiation, does suggest that ECOWAS will continue on the track of diplomacy, on the track of conciliation and constructive engagement to deal with the potential exit of this trial. And I think it's in the interest of all the actors to explore more democratic, more open negotiation in terms of dealing with the problem, because that's going to create a whole lot of challenge at the strategic level, at the political level, at the security level, and even in aspect of economic cooperation. Recall also that these three countries constitute about 50% of the territory called ECOWAS. So exiting in such a sudden manner will really impact on the overall economic health, political health, and even the security temperature of the region. So I think conciliation, negotiation, constructive engagement hold the greatest potentials for resolving the problem.
Yeah, and you have touched on it, but ECOWAS was formed to promote economic interests in the region and, of course, to ensure stability and democracy. However, critics say that its performance has been on the decline in recent years. What is your opinion on this, and has this perhaps led to these breakaway states?
I think I am persuaded to agree with the critics that ECOWAS has not really reinvented itself in the light of shifting geopolitical and geostrategic landscape in the region, as well as the democratic backsliding we are seeing. ECOWAS has not been forward-looking in terms of its posture, in terms of its engagement. And I say this because primarily ECOWAS was established to facilitate economic integration, and then they moved towards facilitating political stability, and then began to embrace the issue of consolidation of democracy. To a very large extent, one can argue that ECOWAS is the foremost, most developed regional economic community in Africa in terms of the tools and instruments it has articulated, in terms of normative framework it has articulated for consolidation of democracy. But in reality, I think in the last decade, ECOWAS has not been able to reinvent itself. We have seen cracks and incidents of undemocratic tendencies on the part of West African leaders who were elected, and then they wanted to undermine the democratic process. And we didn't see ECOWAS come out strongly to call out to these African leaders. I can quickly mention the experience of Guinea under Alpha Conde, and again, you can easily mention the most recent was the very tragic experience West Africans was looking at the way and manner things were progressing in Senegal. And if not that Senegal has a very robust civil society and a very highly professional military, I think Senegal would have also joined the League of West African countries under military rule. So I think ECOWAS need to reinvent itself. ECOWAS need to adopt, a forward-looking posture, need to be prepared, courageous enough to call out West African leaders that are actually displaying all these tendencies of unconstitutional changes of government, tenure elongations, manipulation of the electoral process, because in itself, these undemocratic tendencies in member states are raising a whole lot of legitimate crisis for ECOWAS.
Right. Thank you very much for being with us on First Post Africa and for bringing us all the latest.
Thank you so very much.
Climate change is on our doorstep. It's time for a revolution to take root. And it starts with 1.4 billion Indians. It starts with one tree. One tree for humanity. One tree for Mother Earth. One tree for a future. Project One Tree, a News 18 network initiative.
Across continents, one powerful news source.
Bringing you diverse perspectives on the issues that matter.
We go beyond the boundaries to give you that little extra about every sporting moment. So thank you for making Firstpost 5 million strong. We're counting on your support, and you can trust us to bring you the news unfiltered and unvarnished. On the today, the T20 World Cup bandwagon has moved across to the West Indies.